All right, we are live. Well, again, I'm just getting used to this. Sorry, everybody. Welcome to the Side Action, episode 4 of season 6. My name is Jim Weglers, aka Wegs. You can follow me at Wegspo on Twitter and on Instagram.
And I'm Coop. Welcome back. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Dalton Cooper, at Mr. Crumpy Gills. And yeah, we are live back in the studio. It feels good. It means football is here, and it just means the weekend is that much closer.
That's right. Don't forget, we got Side Action. We follow Side Action Pod on Twitter and Side Action Podcast on Instagram. So tell me, first of all, you weren't at the aquarium, man.
Yeah, I didn't feel very well. It's the seasonal allergies. I'll be honest.
Okay.
I didn't. I think more precaution than anything. I always hate being sick, and I would feel bad if I get other people sick. And I love fish more than any person I know.
Okay.
So yeah, I was really depressed actually.
Well, I mean, you missed a fun time. It was an interesting experience. It's kind of spread out in there. You can go to almost anything in the aquarium, see the dolphins and stuff. And then
I see what you did there. I like that.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
nice.
that was for you. And then there was a tent outside, and the tent had the music, and even that's where I'm gonna end up.
Okay,
So
yeah.
there's a little bit of line dancing, little Cupid's shuffle or something else going on. Next thing you know, there's some larger ladies backing their thing up on Jimmy Wags. I didn't know what's going on. Lee and I were like, let's hit the dance floor. Within 2 seconds, there was some grinding going on. But anyway, it was fun. We ended up going to karaoke as well.
Okay.
Went to Brando's, which is a kind of a secret spot for our podcast listeners downtown. You can do karaoke pretty much any night of the week. Good spot. Did get a little shallow in. Sang a little shallow with Monica Z. So it was pretty good. I did kind of upstage a little bit. I started busting in on her part, but it's okay. It was a fun time.
There's a video out there if anyone wants to go look for it on Facebook, by the way.
It's somewhere out there.
Yeah, it's surfacing.
Yeah. So, and then personally for the weekend, Saturday, whatever, we played a little volleyball. I didn't do great. It was fine. I should have played better. My highlight of the weekend was Sunday after dropping off my kid at the airport. Went back to Rivers. I was riding the hot streak. Craps. Won some more money.
Yeah,
won
some more money. Call me either. I'm kind of
it was kind of impromptu. And then the irony was I was there, rolled some numbers, almost double my money again. And I was leaving and I was texting, Artemis Primetime Murphy. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh, I'm watching the games at Rivers. I'm like, really?
No way.
So I just popped over to the sports book, had a beer with Primetime. We watched the end of the first games and we wasn't at the tables. I'm like, you didn't go to the tables? We couldn't dominate the tables.
By the way, if anybody has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Just want to put that out there.
Call Wegs. I will help you through your gambling issues.
Man, that's so funny. That's so funny. Small world.
Exactly.
No, I was going to say, I saw that when you were typing it up, and I was a little disappointed I didn't get a call to go something. I've actually been hot with bowling. I've been hot with golf. Okay. I'm like, man, I got a little cash.
There you go.
Damn.
Well, I was thinking about doing Saturday to go downtown. There's a new casino downtown. You know that?
No.
Yeah. There's a new one. Bally's is downtown.
Ah.
So they've opened, and it's in the old Medina building. I think it used to be Bloomingdale's or something. I think it was on Ohio or Ontario.
Okay.
I was kicking around. I'm like, I'm going to go down by myself. I'm going to do this. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. After I drop off the kid, just swing right off the exit to Rivers. And there you go. And I dazzled them. And really, it wasn't me throwing. I threw decent, but this one woman just kept hitting the numbers. And I was just stacking the odds up. They have 100 times odds at Rivers. 100 times. Yeah, you can back your bet by 100 times. Usually it's like moment 3, 4, 5 on it.
Like your pass line and whatnot?
Yeah, well, pass line was just $5 minimum.
Wow.
So I could do $5 minimum, then stack up 50. Or I could do 100, whatever I wanted. I ended up going, my biggest one I bet on, and she hit it for me. I put it to, I think, 10, and then I put 100 behind. So,
nice.
Won $100 there.
Yeah,
nice. Thank you, Rivers. And they made me get a card this time, so I couldn't go under the radar. Now they know exactly.
They know where you're there. They know the Wegs when they see.
They're like, oh, let me swipe it when you're eating food. Anyway, well, hey, so tell me about this new thing you want to do. It's pretty cool. It's you want to say who got taken to the shed. I know it's based on the Shed Aquarium, but we're gonna do this every week. Who got taken to the shed this week?
Well, I had a couple. I didn't know if you want to start out, but
I can. But go ahead, explain what you're.
So the shed of the week was always kind of an inside joke with me and a buddy back home. Shout out to Mark Firebird Donovan.
Yeah.
He actually gave us a touchdown score that we hit this weekend.
There you go.
So shout out to him. But we would always joke. I'm like, who got taken to the woodshed? You had like the old adage, if you will. So. We had I kind of wanted to introduce it. I've always had the idea of we had a podcast to do a good little segment, good little talking point. So the first one I had written down were the Raiders.
Yeah.
The Raiders definitely got taken to the shed against the Bills, 31-10. Josh Allen looked right back to his MVP form. 3 touchdowns. I think he had 1 rushing too.
He played good.
Another one I had was Justin Fields. And honestly, the last 24 hours, the whole organization.
It's not Justin Fields alone. It could be an organizational problem. My beloved Bears. We've got a defensive coordinator that's getting raided by people. I heard too. This crazy about the story is that I heard it was Peanut Tillman that got him onto that. He's an FBI agent now.
No way.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Wow, I can't imagine
he gave him the tip. So he's running the raid into the dude's house.
Peanut
What are they looking for? Is it drugs? I don't understand.
They need to come out with a Netflix series. This sounds like a movie, like in the making, from 25 years from now.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know how hip in social media you are in like politics and stuff, but I scavenge Twitter all day long.
Yeah.
Lauren, who got taken to the shed. I don't know if you saw the politician.
I heard about this.
She's getting groped at like a play that she was at. And then she came out
He was a Democrat.
Yeah, it came out a couple days later that she was no longer accepting dates. And she was always going to check party affiliation before she went on said dates. And
that's not in the when you're in the Hinge profile. It doesn't really say that. I'm glad it doesn't, but
So, but yeah, I think she got taken to the shed this week. Have you heard about Xavier Howard? Did you hear about him? So
I saw him play this weekend.
So off the field, there was news about him this week because he actually has 3 different women pregnant at the same time right now.
It sounds like what was it? What's that dude's name? Nick Cannon.
Nick Cannon. So he got taken. He was resurfacing on Twitter, and last couple days, I don't know if you've noticed, but the last one I had here was Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift rumors got taken to the shed this week because Jason Kelce, because his brother went out and he didn't confirm, but he said 100% he feels that it's true that they're dating.
Well, according to Sophia, my daughter, who's a big time Swiftie, she said it is true.
Oh yeah, so the rumors got taken to the shed this week. So just whatever you want to add, that's what I had written down.
I was gonna say initially, and I don't know the player's name, and he got death threats. The guy who hit, I watched the game, Colorado State and the Buffs. It was a great game. It's not on your list, so I have to give a shout out to the Rams played very well, should have won the game, but the cheap shot was not good, and he got taken to the shed by everybody. Death threats. You shouldn't have death threats, and give Deion some credit, saying, "Hey, it's just a football game. Let's not threaten to kill this young man." But at the same time, it was a pretty cheap shot, and I think it's Turner. Is that his name?
I'm looking for it right now.
Yeah, the young man.
Henry Blackburn.
Well, Blackburn's the guy who hit him, but the guy who took out for 3 weeks.
Oh, Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter, yeah. He's a really good player for CU. But, man, full disclosure, I'm sitting here on the couch over here. I got nothing to do on a Saturday night. I'm not going to gamble at Bally's. So I might as well gamble on the app with Rivers, right? So I hit the money line at that time, it was 14-14 for the first quarter. I'm like, I'll hit it. It's still 6 or 7 to 1. And I was looking really good.
Really? Okay.
Really good. They're 28-17. They did blow the game in the end, but they covered the number, which was like 23. I did get a live line. I cover myself, but it was I'll take that guy to the shed.
Yeah, he definitely got taken to the shed. That was also, I was texting Mark about our new segment. He actually mentioned him. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, that actually jogged my memory.
The other guy I would probably say, and we'll get to this maybe later, is Brandon Staley. He was really salty with the media when they were asking, is there a carryover effect from the Jacksonville playoff last year? He's like, there is none. Have you seen us in training camp? You guys have blown leads in the first 2 games of the year, dude.
Yeah.
There's something going on. You stink. So you're getting taken to the shed, sir.
Yeah, he might live in the shed, honestly. If they don't win this week, there's gonna be a doghouse with that shed. So but no, I think we've about covered all our bases there.
Okay, we'll do that each week. Now tell me, I know this is an NFL podcast mostly on sports gambling, but go ahead, hit your college hits.
Yeah, we stay hip, we try to talk a little life, a little T-Swift, we stay relevant. But no, I mean, college football last week, obviously this week we've got a lot of big headline games finally. Finally, we've got a good slate going on. We've got just some notables real quick. We've got Florida State and Clemson. You've got 19 Colorado against Oregon, which is really weird because it's a noon Eastern kickoff, which means they're playing at 9 a.m. in Oregon.
What are they doing that for?
Because it's the Fox game of the week. So they're doing a noon Eastern kickoff for a game in Oregon. So for your betting, your degenerates out there, that might help. Because if they're
21-point dogs, the Buffaloes.
Yeah, but if Oregon goes on a bender Friday night and come in a little hungover, I'm just saying, it might be a little spicy there. You got UCLA and Utah. You've got Ole Miss and Alabama. You've got Oregon State, which could be a sleeper in my opinion, national championship. You might sprinkle that in there. I might do that after we get done recording.
Oh boy.
Washington, they're visiting Washington State, and you got Ohio State and Notre Dame finally finally a big matchup between two blue bloods there, and you got Iowa and Penn State. So,
that's right. So which of these games do you like this week, or none of them? You
I do take Penn State. So far this year, we're 5-1 on the year. We lost last week. Iowa actually covered, if you can believe.
I know
that.
They actually scored a lot of points in that game.
And it just, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm still salty if you couldn't tell. So we're actually going to double down and take Penn State against them this week. Hopefully we take all that revenge factor.
Again, remember, Foreshadows is a sponsor.
Right. And then Tennessee last week went to Florida and lost again.
Mm-hmm.
So stop me for that one, Force. But I'm going to take them in a bounce back spot. They're minus 20.5 against UTSA.
Yep.
Also, I saw in DraftKings, I was looking for picks. They have Arizona on the money line at plus 3,500. So I put $1. Arizona State, excuse me. You're right. Yeah, it was. I put $1 on the money line for them to beat USC, just because if you're going to give me plus 3,500, why not take it?
Why not take it? So a little cheddar in there.
So it should be a good week in college football. You don't have to make any Saturday plans. They're already made for you.
I think I got some really bad news for everybody. The Shocker season has been canceled, at least for now. They are not going to have a Saturday league. I am so sick of Chicago Sport and Social. Players doesn't even offer any leagues on Saturday. No flag football on Saturday. Possibly, we were discussing doing maybe a weekday thing. I'm like, oh boy. So my college football viewing is going to dip dramatically, because usually I'm like going right to the bar and watching some games. But so sorry, everybody, the Shocker Nation. I mean, we are still the defending champions of co-ed rec.
They go out on top
Saturday, 8-on-8, but we did go on top. So
that actually brings a tear to my heart.
Sorry, buddy.
Wanted to be a Shocker.
All right, well, let's go to this week, recap the NFL now. Week 2, just kind of general recap. Road teams flipped around. Last time they dominated. Still pretty good. 9-7 this week. Is that true? Wait a second. I'm going to put that backwards, buddy. Let me make sure I got the correct information to America. Yeah, I think I did that backwards. Give me 1 second. No, they're still 9-7. Yeah. So road teams are still dominating. Not a road advantage. The Dogs still led the way, 8-5-3, a little bit less than last week. But this time it flipped on the totals. The overs hit big, 12-4, complete reversal from last week. Vegas lowered all those totals and everybody went over them. So I figured this week it's going to get closer to 50-50 because Vegas is going to figure it out. And then the spread mattered in 4 games instead of 2. So 25%, it's a bigger percentage, but over the course of, you're going to see it's going to settle in right about that 16%.
Yep.
So in the game recaps, first of all, Survivor. Let's talk about this game. I don't know. Are you doing any Survivor pools?
No, I didn't get any Survivors. Just doing my Beaver Nation.
We love Beaver Nation.
Yeah, we do.
So the Giants were our pick, the official pick, side action. And, they went in like I think they finished a 4-point favorite on 4.5 on the road. And they come out and just let a complete shit dud in the first half, 20-0 at halftime. Yeah. They scored a quick touchdown. Then it went 28-7. I was sitting there with a prime time watching this game. And I am like, oh my God, I can't watch it. I got to go home. I start driving home. And then of course I'm getting the updates from you, from him, and Steve, action and and I'm like, what? They're coming back, and I'm tracking the game as I'm getting home, and I flip it on, and I'm like, oh my God, they come all the way back to win in regulation, 31-28. They didn't even need the extra period to do this. I mean, obviously, Daboll, he says he wasn't calling plays in the second half. I'm sure he had something to say about it. He had the play sheet up to his mouth anyway. But what a crazy roller coaster. So we survived. Denver did lose, which was kind of a bigger, survivor hit. In our pool, 36% have been eliminated, which gives our value, apparently implicit value, like $1,526 from original 1,000.
Nice.
I would take that now, but they're not going to do it.
Yeah, cash out early, eh?
Yeah. So, and then in the regular contest, we didn't do so great. We went 2-3. We had a tough week. Yeah. So we dropped quite a bit. There are 2 entries still with 10-0, which is out of 5,300. It's not many. We've dropped all the way to 1,227 plays, but we can bounce back. The first quarter, it's looking like we're out in that, but you never know. We liked Indy at +1.5. They covered pretty easily in that one, winning 31-20. Anthony Richardson was great in that game with 2 early rushing touchdowns, but he got knocked out with a concussion. Kind of took himself out. If you saw that.
Yeah, he. I think after he scored a touchdown, he got bumped, and I think they were talking about how he's kind of smacked his head on the ground or whatever. But yeah, he's an animal. The way they were set up the run game for him too, like the scheme wise, I think was really good. And they seem to have the opposite problem that the Bears and other quarterbacks have, and just letting their mobile quarterback actually be a mobile quarterback.
And they said when he comes back, he may miss this week because we'll talk about that later with Minshew, but they said that they're still going to run him when he comes back. So there you go. The other game we hit was Tennessee. I told you, man, Vrabel, dude. This game was kind of crazy. It was obviously the other side of it was the Staley factor. They were down like 11-0 right away in the first quarter, but leave it to the Titans. They started chucking it deep. I mean, even Tannehill can hit deep against this Charger defense. And they actually were winning late in the game, 24-21. Inexplicably, the Chargers got to within like the 20 with like 50 seconds and somehow settled for a field goal. Didn't go for the end zone, force overtime, and then Vrabel in the game forced a 3-and-out and win in overtime outright 27-24. Thank you, Titans, for 2 covers in our contest.
Yeah, it's in Vrabel we trust, I think is what you have written down there. But no, that was, I mean, you called in the beginning. I think we were both on that, actually. We both like that number for sure. I don't know what else you could say other than the Chargers just charging it away at this point, because on paper, they've got so much more talent. DFS was nice because we did have Treylon Burks and Keenan Allen in a lineup together. So we hit some pretty good money on that on Sunday.
Yeah, Keenan had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. So we had, and I think Treylon had like 80 or 90 yards on a couple catches. But but like you said, they were just outcoached. The Titans offense is severely under talented compared to the Chargers defense. And there was a couple of plays, even that Ryan Tannehill touchdown, they could watch him pull the guard and they ran a speed option off of it. Yeah. And Derwin James is just left to cover both of them by himself, and he chose Henry, and Tannehill walks right in. So that's just, you could see that coaching just right away. So again, the shed, he's going to be living in that shed.
Yeah, Staley's in the shed. So the ones we didn't hit, unfortunately, we had the Bengals. They were 3.5 point. They were actually at home favorites. I thought they'd bounce back. Joe Burrow doesn't look right. We could talk a little bit about that. The Ravens came out and were doing what they do. Lamar looks great. He looks healthy. He's running great. But Burrow is just not throwing the ball. In fact, this final was 27-24, but it's a little misleading. The first touchdown by Cincinnati was a punt return.
Yeah.
So Burrow, he did get a late score to get it within this number, and then the Ravens just ran out the clock. But what do you think? I mean, should Burrow even play this week?
Oh no. I mean, because if you look at their schedule too, they can afford to have him not play. All the way up until like week 6 or 7, I think they can realistically be 2-4. They'd be coming off their bye playing San Francisco, if I remember looking at their schedule right. So they play, I think, like the Seahawks, and there's a couple other like weaker games in there that they could definitely at least hang in and have a realistic chance to win.
You got Jake Browning.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking over a decade. I mean, Joe gets in there and really does something serious. God forbid he does what Aaron Rodgers does. Those calf issues and stuff like that. So. But no, they just look bad. I mean, T. Higgins, they've scored 2 offensive touchdowns all year. Jamar Chase is completely invisible. If you play fantasy, you've taken him probably within the first 1, 2, or 3 picks in your draft, and you're like, what the hell's going on? Their defense doesn't look the same either. I don't know what it is. Von Bell's been playing really well in Carolina. Jesse Bates is obviously playing really well in Atlanta. I don't know if it's those guys.
It's the up front guys. I don't think they're getting the pressure.
I just, so they just, like you said, they look out of sync. They definitely don't look right. And man, we both took them to win the Super Bowl, and it's kind of hard to stomach.
We can backpedal. I'm gonna stick there for a couple more weeks, and then we'll pick other people. So how about one of the bad beats of the weekend? We picked San Francisco, and in the contest it was 7.5. This did go down to 7 in a lot of places before the game. So San Francisco, I mean, they didn't dominate this game. The Rams have played actually pretty good, surprising in the first 2 games so far. Stafford looks good, but they had a big lead late. They had a 10-point lead late. In this one, it was, I think, 30-20 at that point. And all they had to do was just, keep them really out of the end zone, we thought, except that Sean McVay, with like 3 seconds on the clock from like the 25-yard line, instead of kneeling or going for a touchdown, he kicks the field goal to get within the number and just pisses off people like us and people in Vegas. So it was just, he wasn't aware of the point spread, he said.
I was going to say, did you see what he said? Did you see it? He said it came down to like tiebreaker factors where it was point differential and everything else. Whether you believe that. But I mean, from a statistical standpoint, the Rams were in this game. It looks like they outgamed the 49ers, and Sean McVay is really good at offensive play calling. If you watch that game, you can see him scheming people open.
Yep. How much your guy?
They're using
Paco Nakua.
Yeah, Nakua. Yeah, he looks really good. I didn't realize his older brother played in the league before he did. I don't know if you knew that or not. Yeah, he bounced around. He was a safety, but he played his longest time with the Browns.
Nice.
But yeah, he looks really good. He already has. I think he's tied for the most catches through 4 games of any NFL rookie. But he's only played 2. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So, but he's obviously going to shatter the 3-game pace and the 4-game pace.
Nice.
Barring any injury.
Yeah. He's on one of the squads now.
Yeah, and you should really look at Tutu Atwell. The one thing that you've noticed really a lot is how they're starting to use motion, and that's what you can really tell between this year and last year is they're using motion to release the wide receivers, similar to what Miami does.
Mm-hmm.
They get those guys running, and then it's just see you later. So, but I think they can really shock some people. I don't know if the Rams are going to go to the playoffs, but they're going to be frisky.
They're playing Cincinnati. We'll talk about that later. So last game on the official picks, which I know you were against me and you were right in this one, is New England. They were 2.5-point dogs at home against the Finns, and now the Finns have beaten. Well, I should say Tua has beaten the Finns 5-0 now against Belichick. I wanted to note one of the plays in this game that was completely wild was you're going to bring it up where they ran essentially it was like the gunner in motion, like outside guy when they blocked the punt.
The field goal.
And he was running. He timed it perfectly and came from the outside to block that one. That was pretty awesome. You're probably going to see that or some iteration of that in every level of football now. But hey, you got the cover. They were 24-17. I think they did take their foot off the gas pedal a little bit, the Finns, but New England, two red zone turnovers again this week. They just can't get it done. And as much as they've kind of schemed certain things for Mac Jones to be easier, I don't know, man. He didn't make things happen the way he should have. What do you think about that last play, though? I mean, obviously, I guess if you take out the ruler, the offensive lineman was short of the sticks. I just couldn't believe they just didn't let that play go on 4th and 4. The lineman got the lateral and he kind of surged in the pile, and I guess they respotted it and he was short of the sticks, and they lost their chance to come back.
I thought it was a bad play call to begin with. If it's 4th and 4, why are you not throwing the ball more than 4 yards? Yeah. That's what I would say first and foremost.
That was your guy, Hunter Henry. Right?
No, that was Mike Gesicki.
Oh, Gesicki.
Yeah, that was Gesicki.
Former Dolphin.
Yeah, that was my former guy. Mm-hmm. But no, I thought it was like to your point, their offense looked like they slowed down a little bit, almost like they were trying to more bleed out the clock than as opposed to trying to score. What really surprised me is Miami ran the ball really well between the tackles.
They did.
Mostert had over 100 yards. Game. Yeah, he had like 116 or was he? He had 121. I beg your pardon. Mm-hmm. He had 2 touchdowns. My guy Hunter Henry, he actually had a really good game. He played well. And the Pats defense, they played well. Also, it's got to be frustrating to be like you said. Those red zone turnovers have to be just so frustrating from a defensive standpoint. Yeah. But no, Miami, the quest for 20-0 lives on.
That's right. There you go. You're 20-0. Some other games we discussed for you. I know you're 4-4 now in Beaver Nation. So you've got the Chiefs. They did cover 3.5. This was a really good game. And to your credit, I will give you credit for the top 10 defense or top 10 for the Chiefs because they held Jacksonville to 3 field goals. Now, I will say that somehow Trevor Lawrence missed several guys in the red zone, and they couldn't get in the end zone. He overthrew some guys, and they couldn't make it happen. But 17-9, this is really they've only given up 23 points, the Chiefs defense, on 2 games in the season, and some decent offenses. Chris Jones looked like the man. He stayed in shape, obviously. Yeah. So good for you making this call.
Thank you. No, okay. Yeah, no thanks. That's
You're wearing your Chiefs red today.
The Heat. Anyway, that's our push for Damian Lillard. Anyway. It made sense just from a standpoint that I think this team on paper, the one thing they're struggling with right now is the passing game. And I think if you look at the Chiefs overall as a whole and you continue to watch them and your biggest issue was, we got to wait for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid to figure out their side of the ball. I feel like if that's their biggest problem, then they'll be just fine. So,
and I figured they'd be at this stage, they beat Jacksonville and lost to Detroit. I thought they'd be 1-1 at this stage anyway. Yeah. They have a pretty tough schedule. It's fine. They're going to figure out the offense. They're going to be fine. Don't worry. The Chargers are not a threat.
And to your point, too, Chris Jones made almost like offseason training look like it's pretty pointless for defensive players. He just sat right in it and made a huge difference already. Yeah.
We mentioned the Giants game. Of course, they didn't cover even though they won the game. Pittsburgh and the Steelers, obviously plus 2.5. We talked about this game. Tough situation here. Nick Chubb, and I actually never saw it. I guess thankfully he had a really nasty injury. He tore 3 ligaments in his knee. Hopefully he comes back at some point in his career because it could be a career ender. But the Steelers, look, were they the right side in this one? To be honest with you, they were not. They had 2 defensive touchdowns to get this number in, and they won this game outright. But I'm really concerned about Kenny Pickett. I was calling for, I don't know if Trubisky's the backup. At some point, I don't know if it's Matt Canada because he's obviously calling the plays now, or it's Pickett. But one way or another, this offense is kind of broken right now. Thank God the Steelers defense, did it to get home on the +2.5.
Oh yeah, I have their defense in fantasy, so that was really exciting.
2 scores.
No, I'm right. I'm with you though. Their offense does look broken, and Najee Harris looks broken. Jalen Warren is so much better running back.
Yes.
I don't know why. I don't know. Until they flip that, I think too, that's going to be an issue. Their wide receiver, obviously Deontay Johnson's hurt, which doesn't help either. But yeah, they look very elementary on offense.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the Pickens like
that
80-yard, 70-yard touchdown, I mean, I think Pickett would have like 100 yards passing.
Yeah,
and they really couldn't run the ball very well, so it was rough. I mean, admittedly, once Chubb left the game for the Browns, they didn't do much. They did get Ford had that big run, but other than that, so we'll factor that into as we transition now to week 3 storylines. We talked about Nick Chubb; he's out for the year. But there's a lot of other guys on this injury report this week. Saquon Barkley, I'm pretty sure he's not playing tonight, even though
he's out.
Dable was like bullshitting everybody. We all knew you saw his ankle; it was pretty bad. He slammed his helmet on the sideline. He's out, I heard, up to 3 weeks. We talked about Anthony Richardson, his concussion protocol. You've listed David Montgomery, who has a thigh issue for Detroit. And then there's a couple other guys you want to talk about here on the
they still had Devontae Adams listed in concussion protocol along with Jalen Waddle. So they'll still be up in the air. And Cam Akers, obviously, he got traded. I put that on there, and of course, the next day he's traded. I thought he might go to the Browns, which I thought was really funny. But unfortunately, I didn't call my shot there. He went to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then also we had the speculation, which we might get to more when we talk about the game. But also today, I don't know if you saw, but Trayvon Diggs tore an ACL in practice, and he's gone for the year for the Cowboys.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
in practice?
Yeah. So
damn.
And actually, if you think about it, for the Cowboys, it's kind of a good thing because that's honestly probably their worst corner.
Yeah.
And they did trade for Noah Igbenogany. Wow. Anyway, they traded for Noah from the Dolphins. Right? So. And he actually scored the first touchdown of the year for them. So I don't know if they knew or they wanted to get some depth.
We also didn't mention, because on the notes, Bryce Young is also not starting this week.
That is correct.
The Red Rifle will be starting up in Seattle. So let's go into the games themselves here, Coop. We've got Thursday night. We're taping a little in advance of that. We'll get it up as soon as we can. But the Giants are going to San Francisco. I think this line is up to 10.5 now, with a total around 44.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's a big number, of course, in the NFL. 10.5 is a lot, but you don't have Saquon Barkley. Obviously, you've got Daniel Jones. He rode high in the second half, but to me, it's San Francisco or pass. I can't really back the Giants again until I see them play a full game, but what do you think?
I don't know how many points you'd have to give me to get off of the Niners, to be honest.
How many points?
Yeah, I'd be willing to give you up to 14, I think, at least. I think this is going to be a runaway. I'd be amazed if Christian McCaffrey plays even the second half in this game. I think they're going to come out really early.
There was a lot of talk about that he was running when they were blowing people out, that's stupid. He's going to get hurt.
Yeah, he had 100% snap percentage last week, I think, which is also kind of cool because, everybody's always worried about him being fragile. I think it just shows, how good the shape he is now, and maybe some of that's a little bit behind him, hopefully.
I'd probably play Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, DFS. Yeah.
DFS goes over his prop anyway.
Yes, I think it was 23.5 was his receiving total, which we did take. We took the over tonight, so we'll see what happens there. But I think this game might be over by halftime. Unfortunately, we're gonna see. I don't know who the world the Giants can get the ball to. Maybe Darren Waller, and that's about it. But
it's not even the offense, man. I mean, although they were terrible against the Cowboys, it's the defense. The defense is terrible. I know that I'm not trying to beat you up on this, but for some reason, they were good last year. Now they stink. I mean, Dobbs looked like a superstar in the first half of that one.
Yeah.
And obviously, the Cowboys didn't have to do much against them week 1, but it's the defense that has to play better. So maybe they will pick it up against this really great unit of San Francisco.
Yeah. Martin Wingdale's usually got pretty good defenses. It's usually like one of the staples you can
One thing I heard, he just does the same thing all the time. So maybe people have figured it out.
It could be.
All right, let's go to the next game. So we've got New England going to the Jets. This is obviously the Jets, had big hopes this year. It's a totally different thing. They got smashed by Dallas. We didn't talk about that. You're right on that one, by the way, Coop. So New England is now a 3-point favorite on the road. This total has gone all the way down to 30. So it's 36.5 now. My God. So they're not expecting a lot of points in this one. you're expecting a little rain. The meteorology can we get the map up?
Yeah, I know,
this or
right?
What?
Well, we're working on the green screen. We're trying to work in the budget. I'm trying to work with ownership and the higher ups on that.
So you've got some 60% of rain from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's during game time. So what do you think here? I mean, it's pretty much Patriots all the way, right? I mean, 3 is a tough number to lay in a divisional game, road game, but doesn't Belichick own Zach Wilson?
He owns.
He's his daddy?
Yeah, he owns rookie. I think they've lost 14 in a row, if I remember correct. The Jets
Really?
have to the Patriots.
Wow,
Yeah.
since the Rex Ryan days.
Yeah, basically. So, and I almost think I saw this at 2.5 in places too, and I really like that.
Yeah, it's 2.5 now.
If you can get it, so you get a 2.5, you take New England. I think New England's gonna cover, and they're gonna win this game convincingly. I can't remember if this was one of the games that I think I sent you some on Twitter about a tropical storm moving into the
3 games
to the eastern part of the country this weekend. I can't remember if this was one of the games that was going to be affected by it, but even if it does come down to that, we know the Patriots can run the football. They have Zeke, they have Ramondre Stevenson, and Mac Jones can still make a couple throws to where Zach Wilson really can't make any throws. So
yeah, and I mean, I think the total going down is indicative that the Pats aren't really going to score that many points against the Jets. I know that actually Dallas looked really good against the Jets last week, which was a little surprising, but they don't have the same talent, meaning obviously the New England isn't the same talent that the Cowboys do to move against the Jets. So,
and this is one of the games affected by that. Yeah. So there's a tropical cyclone that is tracking to hit the eastern part of the country on Sunday.
I think this is the lowest total I've seen all year. So we'll see. So, but you would still take the side.
Oh yeah. You take New England, you give the points. Honestly, I would gamble the over. Why not? There's probably going to be some turnovers. If you have weather, that could be a defensive score too. That's probably going to really
always
help
affects the total.
Yeah, that's really going to help you with that over.
Yeah. See Pittsburgh's
right, and Cleveland.
Exactly. All right. So the next game is Indianapolis is going to Baltimore. Baltimore is now an 8-point favorite, 44-point total now. So so it's kind of interesting. The spread went up and the total went down. Is this one of the affected games too?
It does. Yes, this does show as one of the affected games on the map.
Only a 50% chance versus the 60 in New York somehow. But Baltimore has some injuries, so I will say that could be interesting. It's a big number to cover, so I'm going to stay away from this game. This is the classic Jimmy Wegs stay away, or what did you call me last week? Jimbo Fisher?
Jimbo Wegs.
Wegs Fisher. I don't know how you loop me in with Jimbo Fisher, but it's a stay away spot for me. But I would take Baltimore. I don't think I can. I don't think I'm looking at the dog here. No way. Especially if you've got Minshew in there in the rain. I love Minshew, but I don't know, man. In the rain, I don't know. I don't like it.
I don't know. He grew up in the swamp. Maybe he's used to throwing the football in the rain.
He grew up in the swamp.
Yeah, I think down in Louisiana. I think he grew up in Louisiana, like southern part of the country. No, I think I'm with you. I don't like the number. If I had to pick a side, I think I would ride with Indy. At anything over 8, I'd ride with Indy. They have a good enough defensive line to keep it close. They've still got DeForest Buckner, and they still got a couple guys on defense that can play.
Right.
And they're still passionate. They're 1-1. It's not like they're quit on the season yet. So
no.
If this was like maybe week 13, 14, and this could definitely be just a line them up and crush them spot for Baltimore. But I think it's early enough in the year to where Indy's still going to show up. I think that's the side you need to be on here. I would definitely take the under too.
Yeah, I'll go under here. I'm going to stay on the side, go under, but yeah, Indy or pass, I guess is what you're saying.
It could be a Rashad Bateman game with Odell being out. He's been kind of invisible.
What about Zay Flowers?
We all know Zay Flowers is good. Yeah, but this could be a Bateman game.
Okay. Next game, Tennessee going to Cleveland. This has gone all over the place because of the news. I think it started off, Tennessee was like, 4.5 or something on the opener, and now it's down to 3.5. It's 3.5 right now. It's down to 3 at one point. Now it's 3.5 for Cleveland at home. The total is 39.5. That total came crashing down as well. So where I'm going to go with this one. But I will say this in defense of your Browns. I know you love that team. Browns' defensive line is excellent. You said it in the preseason preview. They are really good. The back end, not sure yet because they blitz so much. They can never get to the back end. But Tennessee, I don't know, man. I love their defensive line too. I think it's going to be an ugly game. If you're going to give me 3.5, I will definitely take it. When I see the circle line is 3.5, I will take Tennessee once more.
Yeah, that half a point does it for me. Mm-hmm. If you give me 3.5, I'll take Tennessee. But if you give me 3, I think I would take Cleveland in that spot. I think that they'll make a couple more. This is a game of bad quarterbacks. Oh my God, this is the game of like who wants to win at least. I think
exactly.
So
Watson hasn't been good, that's for sure.
No, and his footwork is horrible. Right. His mechanics look like they're just completely shot, and he looks like a shell of himself if you watch any of the tape. But stop me if you've heard that before. But no, absolutely, that hook is a big difference. I would ride the hook here. I mean,
they signed Kareem Hunt too this week. We should have mentioned that.
They did.
Cleveland.
They did. But also, if you look at it, they still kept the same guy over Kareem Hunt. So I think I still think your high usage is going to be Jerome.
Oh yeah. He's the lead guy.
But yeah, no, I'll probably. I don't know. Tennessee's getting a little too hot for my liking. I'm gonna have to put it down at some point.
What would you put the spread on this one? If it,
I almost thought like, guess whose line is it anyway? I almost thought it was gonna be a pick'em when it first came out.
Well, look at the Jimmy Wegs system. It was a pick'em on a neutral 2 points for Cleveland. So I still see value with Tennessee. But
that's fair.
I see what you're saying. They're gonna get after Tannehill. He's gonna get his ass handed to him a lot. I just wonder if the physicality over the course of the game, both lines can play. Because the Titans too can force turnovers. It just favors a dog for me in such a low total game.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so now we've got an interesting game where we've got Atlanta going to Detroit. These are two teams that are supposedly in the mix for their divisions. Atlanta is now. Let me double check what we got here. Atlanta is a 3-point dog on the road, and the total's 46. Now this one's kind of bounced around that half a point too, so it depends on what number you get. Circa is listing this as a 3-point game. I think it's really well. That's the spread to me. This is exactly where it should be. I think they're really even teams. Hard for me to determine. We stayed away from Ritter last week, but Atlanta won again against Green Bay, and actually that was one of our contest picks, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. No, it wasn't. No, we stayed away from that one, but I did like that one in my personal contest. So if it's 3.5, I'm gonna go to Atlanta. If it's Detroit at 3, I think I'm gonna take them or stay away. What do you think?
Well, I think I almost agree with everything you said until these teams are kind of evenly matched. I think the biggest gap between these two teams is their quarterback play.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, Jared Goff, you can at least he's shown splashes of competency to where Desmond Ritter has not. I mean, they still have really dialed back this offense for him. He seems more of like the quote unquote game manager than actual quarterback, and I think that's really going to hinder him. Obviously, Detroit's defense is not that great still. We saw last week in Seattle, they scored 34 again.
Right.
By the way, next year, if those two teams play, we need to mark on the calendar now that to just take the over.
Oh, take the over.
No matter what, because last year I think they played a 40 to 30 something game. So
great game.
Yeah, we'll always take the over. We'll put that on your calendar now.
Geno Smith. Props.
Right. But no, I like Detroit in this spot. One, they're at home. Two, I think the Falcons might be feeling themselves a little bit.
Sure.
I honestly, I don't know if Arthur Smith is a good coach. He's obviously really good with the running game, but I almost think that will favor into Detroit's defense, because I feel like they are better at stopping the run than they are covering the back end.
Okay.
So their front seven obviously upgraded. That was one of their big, obviously holes they had last year. And their front seven play has actually been pretty good, at least through the first 2 games. They just keep getting killed in the back end.
Right.
So even last week, Kenneth Walker, I think, only had 80 yards rushing.
That's true. But that could mean that Ritter could have a good game.
That could be. So we'll see. I would still take Detroit. They're at home. They play better. They play so much better in the dome anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm still not a believer in Ritter yet.
Okay.
They can't even get the ball to Kyle Pitts or Drake London, the 2 guys that are supposed to be the focal point of this offense.
I know. But Drake London, I think, had a touchdown last week, no?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. All right, next game, New Orleans at Green Bay. Green Bay is now a short 1.5-point favorite at home. The total's down to 42.5. First of all, I want to say the reason why this total's so low is the Saints have been like a dead under team the last 8 regular season games, under. So 41.5 may be a little too low, but I probably would stick with that too. Green Bay, they look good in the first half against Atlanta, and Atlanta just took control of that game by just running it down their throats. Atlanta went for 4th down a lot in that game, by the way. So I don't know. I think Green Bay is a pretty good ball club, but I don't really trust Love against pressure. So I probably would take New Orleans in this spot, getting the points, because I think that defense is pretty good. I don't like Derek Carr. I've been on record with that. Sorry, Proxy. I know you still love him. Got his jersey back at home. But in my view, I think Love's going to have problems in this game against the New Orleans pressure.
And do you know why they've hit so many unders the last 8 games?
Because they can't score?
Well, it's because their defense hasn't given up more than 17 points.
Oh, nice.
So I think that was dating back to week 11 of last year. So their defense has been really good, to your point. So it all comes down to if they can get more than 20 points out of the offense, they got to really
like the Broncos last year.
Or just like the Buccaneers too. So it just really comes down to how well the offense can play. They did look a little better against the Panthers. I still think Alvin Kamara is going to be a big difference maker in that offense because it's going to make an actual viable running game. And it's going to create a lot more confusion because the linebackers just play downhill against the Saints right now. Even Carolina did that last week, and it seemed to cause a lot of problems. But I'm with you. I would take the Saints. I was big on them from the jump. I think this is a good spot for them to go and also kind of get rid of that narrative they can't play on the road. Obviously, it's in September, but
good teaser spot.
Yes,
it goes up to 8. The other thing I will say though, Aaron Jones is playing for the Pack, so we'll see if that hamstring is 100%. But it sounds like he's going to play anyway.
Yeah, it could. I think he could be. I don't know if this would be a good spot for him, honestly.
The Saints are good.
Yeah, well, their defensive scheme actually favors really well against pass catching running backs, so they might limit him on that for sure.
Well, let's go to the one that at least some people are leaning for survivor here. We've got Houston going into the Jags. The Jags are now they're 9-point favorites at home. No, 8.5. I'm sorry, 44-point total. So it's come down a little bit. And this one we've talked about. Actually, I've already talked about taking this game as survivor, but I have to put the caveat: the Jags have lost against the Texans the last 7 out of 8 times over the last 4 seasons, including at home last year in Week 5. So it's a little scary for me, to be honest with you. I know the Jags are probably better than Houston, but it's one of those situations where Houston's got nothing to lose, and they haven't played. They've had a couple of good halves. They put a good first half against Baltimore. Second half, when they're getting smoked, were much better against the Colts. I know you know CJ Stroud. That's your guy. No. I mean, what do you think about this game?
I'm with you. I guess I would feel worse in your spot taking the Jags if they won last week. If they were 2-0, I would stay away from this game. That's a perfect trap game. But I think here they had to be motivated to kind of gain. Everybody picked them to win that division at the very beginning of the year. Game. So they got to come out early. I think hopefully the urgency is with the Jags. I would take the Jags here. I don't know if I like that number.
Lay 9 or 8.
Yeah, it's a scary number. I could definitely see them blowing them out. It could be a Calvin Ridley show all over again.
This would be the spot where I would tease them down 6 to get that 2.5.
Okay.
See, that's the key.
Yeah, so that's the key.
Tease the Saints up, Jags down, perfect pairing.
That's not a bad play. Maybe we should start getting into
there. Maybe
we should start like a podcast or something, let people know. But anyway, I think this is going to be a bad spot for Houston, even though Jacksonville's defense looked pretty good last week.
They played them 17 against
the Chiefs. So, and obviously Travis Kelce coming back and all that stuff. But I don't know who Houston's going to. I mean, they have I'm blanking on his name. I have him in fantasy. He's a wide receiver. He had a nice game. Nico Collins. Yeah, Nico Collins had a great
Pierce,
game.
The running back. Nico Collins.
He's been a little Damian Pierce has been a little underwhelming this year.
He has been
which I think is more a credit to the offensive line play of Houston. But CJ Stroud's looked pretty good. He's had
0 turnovers.
He looks calm in the pocket, which is usually one of the big things you have to look for in those young quarterbacks. So
actually, I'm sorry. I was crediting to you, but one of the attorneys I work with, he thinks he's a big, sharp, better. Yeah. He was pumping up CJ Stroud because I made the comment that there's never been a good Ohio State quarterback ever in the National Football League in the last 30 years. And he's like, what about CJ Stroud? I'm like, what? It's like 2 games, you get no interceptions. I'm like, okay, whatever.
We'll see.
Slow down, Turbo.
I would feel much better taking the over in this game.
Okay.
That's what I
yeah.
I like the over spot. I don't like that number. I don't like the 9, but I do like the over at 43.5.
Okay.
So the weather looks nice in this game. It's not like last week. So it's much more mild in Jacksonville.
Well, let's go against what did you call it? It's the Chargers against Minnesota.
Oh, this is the loser leaves town game.
Loser leaves town week. Winner go home situation. Yeah. So this number's moved around a little bit. Originally, Minnesota, I think, was the dog right on the opener. Now it's all the way where they're a 1-point favorite. They were actually 2.5-point dogs at home. Now they're a 1-point favorite. This totals all the way up to 54, Coop, 54. So here's the thing. The Chargers can't stop the explosive play, and that's all that Minnesota does. Yeah. So they're going to score. Minnesota's defense, even though Flores is blitzing at a record rate, he's still not really stopping anybody per se. He's still putting up points. So is 54 too high for you in the total, first of all?
No, I would take the over. And the reason why, and to kind of what you were talking about too, Brian Flores is known to play kind of a wild card defense. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard to come up with tendencies for him. So what the Eagles did really well last week, and obviously DeAndre Swift was the big benefit. You watched
175 yards.
I started him.
Well, the week before he had 3 yards. So
God, he's got to read those depth charts. Anyway, we got to talk more. Anyway, with the way the Minnesota played defense last week, they played 5 quarters. So they played literally 5 guys across the board, like 15 yards off us. So that's why they had so much success running the ball. So I think the Chargers having Kellen Moore will be able to make those adjustments quick, in enough time to where I think you'll see a lot of scoring. I don't know if they're going to win the game.
Right.
I almost think Minnesota will be able to outscore them because Justin Jefferson may have 300 yards in this game. I'm not real sure.
He hasn't scored a touchdown yet.
No, hasn't scored a touchdown.
Anytime touchdown, probably.
And you could parlay him. James Cook, he just had a baby, and I've got another theory to where when players have babies that week, they usually score a touchdown because the team likes to get them involved. Camaraderie's high. I think it's a little sneaky parlay you could go there, but. I think this is definitely loser leaves town game. I think there's a lot of speculation too that if Minnesota loses, they might really start thinking about getting rid of Kirk Cousins.
Ship Kirk Cousins to the Jets.
Something. Yeah.
If the Chargers lose, you think they'll fire Staley?
They should.
I mean, they should.
They should. In my opinion, they should have fired him after they blew that lead against Jacksonville.
I put it in my official picks. I'm not sure why, because divisional rival and everything. I think Minnesota's going to win the football game. They played a little bit better against the Eagles than obviously week 1. I thought they just kind of dudded out in the second half.
Yeah.
The Chargers should have. They were in 2 games. They should have won those games. I just feel like they might have quit. They might have quit on this guy. So I think they're quitting on Staley already.
Okay.
For sure.
That's
Herbert. Of course, he can't. His hair. But the defense and stuff. I just feel like we'll see. But it's probably a stay away game in reality. But I do have it in my official picks. Originally, I had it on the list. Admittedly, when it was 2, it was like they were dogs at home. Yeah. And now it's gone all the way back. So the money has followed my thought process, but now they got to win the game.
It's that classic 1:00 West Coast game too. So if the morale, like you're talking about, if they're quitting already, they're definitely not going to come out.
Kirk Cousins great in that 1:00.
Yeah, that's true. And LA might not come out of the juice. Man, they could be. Yeah, no, I've definitely hammered the over here because life's too short not to bet the over. So.
Okay. All right, next one, Buffalo at Washington. This is the 3rd game, I think, affected by your weather. You've got Buffalo is now a 6.5-point favorite on the road, 43-point total. So the totals come down because of the rain and the storm. So this is another potential survivor spot, even though a road team, but it's a little scary for me. Josh Allen in the rain, guy turning the ball over. He played great last week, but I told you he's a total front runner, and I love Josh Allen. But when things are close, when the game's close, he kind of turns the ball over and makes mistakes. 6.5 is a big spread, but I'd probably take the dog in this one, even though I don't think they're going to win the game. But I think Washington will be a game effort at home.
No, I'm with you. I think I struggled with this until I looked at the weather. And the beginning of the week before I saw the weather, I was ready to hammer Buffalo because they either knock people out or, to your point, they keep it close and they usually can't find a way to win those games. But I think over the last 4 years, they lead the NFL in double-digit victories. And I think it's like 16 or 18, something like it's a lot. So it's few and far between by second place. But I'm with you. I think the defensive line of Washington can make a huge difference in this game. And honestly, if you're going to look at a team that runs the ball between these two, it's Washington. Yeah. But they've got Brian Robinson.
Ran well last week.
I have a great nickname for him. It may not be very PC, but his nickname should be Gunshot, in my opinion. I think it's kind of flowy. I don't know, obviously.
The people that are watching the YouTube feed, I know in my head there. That was not an official side action take.
No, of course not.
We don't advocate gun violence.
No, not at all. And we live in Chicago, so of course we're very. I think it's a great nickname. But no, it could be another big Brian Robinson day. But no, I'm with you. I think the side is definitely Washington for sure. And I hate that over under. Actually, I think that's like right at that number. So,
with the rain, sure.
Yeah,
perfect. All right, let's move to the afternoon games. You've got Carolina going to Seattle. This is actually ticked up, which I'm going to change one of my official picks. But Seattle is a 6.5-point favorite at home, 42-point total. That total's ticked down. This is the Andy Dalton show. He's got the best hair in the business, folks, but I'm not sure how he's going to do up in Seattle. Now, Seattle's defense has not performed this year so far. They've had some injuries on the back end. It is another Survivor potential pick. If you're out there doing Survivor, I think they're a good choice for Seattle in this one. I don't know, man. I don't with Bryce Love, he doesn't look that great. Right? I'm sorry, Bryce Young, my bad. And then Dalton, he has nobody to throw to, like you said before. I think Seattle got right in the second half against Detroit, so I would lay the points in this one.
And I think Burns got hurt Monday night against the Saints. I think this could be a real big hammer spot. Like Kenneth Walker, I think this is going to be a ground and pound game. I think Pete Carroll's going to get back to his old ways here. He's gonna probably run the ball, and it's going to be game control. And I think, to your point, I think last week Seattle gained more confidence. They had two tackles, backup tackles starting, and they looked pretty good against. Obviously, it's the Lions, which isn't the greatest pass rush ever, but they did look at least serviceable. They gave Geno time. Geno looked like Geno last year. And yeah, just too many weapons. The 5.5, I think I almost think it's a little generous because Andy Dalton hasn't played football in almost a year.
It's up to 6.5. I'm sorry, I didn't update.
So no, I was going to say 5.5. I'd really like Seattle. A whole touchdown is another, but another game I like the over in. So
another over game. Okay,
I like that over.
Well, Seattle hasn't been stopping anybody. That's true. So okay, Carolina's got to score some points this time, but we'll see. And it's going to be sunny in mid 60s.
Laviska Shenault could be a sleeper. Yeah, that might be a good sleeper in that
Carolina. Or okay.
Yep, Carolina.
Interesting. Okay, so Dallas goes to Arizona. They are a robust 12.5 point favorite now, and this total super low at 43. Now, why am I not listing this in Survivor? Regular Survivor people, Dallas is a great pick, even though they're on the road. However, in the Circa contest, you have to account for Thanksgiving and Christmas as two options there. So Dallas plays on Thanksgiving, as they do every year. We're holding them out. But obviously, when you see 12 points, even if that's a good person to take. Now, Arizona's been game in both games so far. They've been in the mix. Not only they covered, they had chances to win in the fourth quarter. This defense is another animal in Dallas. But if you like Arizona, I'm not saying you should, I would bet them in the first half line. But I think this is a stay away game for me. A little too many points for an NFL game. So you can have at it, Coop. What do you want in this one?
Ooh, that's kind of a stay away from me. Honestly, the way I look at the slate, the 4 o'clock games stink this week. I don't know how you feel, but I don't know how you feel about having 2 Monday games or having.
I don't like it.
Yeah, we can discuss that on our next podcast. But no, I'm with you. I think this is a stay away game. I think obviously if you're going to pick a side, you have to pick Dallas.
Yeah.
You can't feel good. I think it's going to be a runaway. It might look very similar to week 1, to where Josh Dobbs is just going to look so overwhelmed. And he's going to have nobody to throw the ball to either. And he's going to have no time to throw it to anybody.
But the game plans have been good in the first halves. I mean, I know they're playing lesser opponents, but they played decent in the first halves.
But this is definitely the step up in class in defense. This is definitely probably the best defense they'll face all year. So I don't hate your idea of the first half. I would take maybe the first half and the under first half. You never know how they come out frisky. If they come out headhunting like they did against the Commanders, you never know.
Well, let's talk about the other game, which is not as exciting for most of us. The Bears are going to the Chiefs in this one, and the Chiefs are now they're up to 13, right? This is a 13-point favorite right now for the Chiefs. 12.5 still, and 48-point total. So that seems high. There's 43 in there. Anyway, 48-point total. Now, you've got a 20% chance of showers. That's the only way the Bears can stay in this one, is that a complete torrential downpour, because, again, the same attorney who's, Bennett is his name. I told him I'd shout him out this week. He likes the Bears straight up to win this game. I'm like, what are you, smoking crack or what?
My goodness.
I mean, the Chiefs may not cover this 12.5. It's a big number, but they're not going to lose this football game. The Bears, of course, are in disarray. We've talked about the raid and all this stuff, but I don't know what's going on with this team, but they're not going to beat the Chiefs. So another great Survivor pick if you don't have to hold them out for Christmas like we do. But any chance the Bears can stay within this number?
No, I'd take the Chiefs. I'd give you 14, 17. I almost think they're going to win by 20. I think this is going to be a get-right game for the Chiefs because they haven't played well in the first 2 games. They're finally getting everybody kind of back together. This is going to be week 2 of Kelsey. And I think this is a get-right spot for the Chiefs. They're going to go into the gauntlet of their schedule. I think the next 5 games, they're playing quarterbacks up to, I think it's the Chargers. I was just looking at this earlier today, and I can't remember now. I sound like an idiot. But, no, their schedule gets much tougher moving forward. And I think this is going to be a good get-right spot.
Not to mention, It's the Nagy revenge game.
That too.
The OC. Let me show you. I can run some plays better than you guys can. So
no, I think this is definitely a home run spot. Yeah, I guess they have the Jets, then they have the Vikings, the Broncos, the Chargers. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they kind of get into their run here with the Dolphins. I mean, so we'll see. I think this is just a get right for them to where they, this will be the game where the offense starts to look like the Chiefs.
I think they're going to score some points against the Bears. Yeah, for sure. All right, so the Sunday night game is the Raiders are hosting Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a 2.5-point favorite in this one, 43-point total. Now it's basically stayed there pretty much all week from what I've seen, the 2.5, and that's what Circa has it at 2.5. It's tough. I like the Steelers a lot in this spot, although I don't love them being favorites with Kenny Pickett. The thing is the Raiders, they are coming home. They've been on the road for 2 straight weeks, so maybe they have a little bump when they get home. They check out the Sphere. They, maybe hit the high roller. They've rolled some dice like me. They're home with their families. But I think the Steelers' offense is going to actually wake up in this one. So I think it's over, actually, the 43. Even though the Steelers have been playing great D, I think finally the offense is going to start hitting, and I still would lay the 2.5.
I see what you did with the bump there, by the way. With the 2, I hate the number, to be honest. I would take the hook here. I'd take the Raiders. I like the Raiders to cover.
Even a 2.5. It's under the key number.
Yes, sir. I think 3. I think that's a put. I think that number should be right at 3.
We have a different must this week. But
no, a 2.5.
Last week.
2.5, I think, is the right number. For the Raiders, I almost think that Devontae Adams, if he plays, could be an issue. And honestly, we haven't had a Josh Jacobs game yet. And the Browns actually did run the ball pretty well. Obviously, with Cam Hayward out for the Steelers, their run defense is not nearly the same as what it normally is. And Josh Jacobs hasn't had a very good start to the year. So this might be kind of that.
He was on the couch. He was not Chris. He wasn't on the Chris Jones plan.
And I don't know if you saw, there was a stat today that actually the Raiders are tied with the Ravens with the fewest 3-and-out drives on offense this year. They have 3 drives that resulted in 3-and-outs.
Jimmy G, he can hit the stick.
So, and he's just a good distributor of the ball, and he just happens to be incredibly handsome. So.
He is pretty handsome. Fucker. Anyway, let's talk about, there's 2 Monday night games, as we mentioned. Don't like it, but we're going to do it again. You've got Philly at Tampa in the first one. Now Philly is a 5-point favorite on the road, 46-point total in this one. You've got some 56% chance of set showers. Really getting granular there. I'm asking you, how good is the Tampa defense?
Oh, come on. We already know how good I would honestly think that the Tampa pass defense is better than the Philly pass defense. I think that's pretty fair.
Okay.
Obviously the front 7 advantage goes to the Eagles. They have too many guys. But, I don't know how much to take into account AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts getting into the sideline, especially when they're up like 14 at that point and he's mad he's not getting the ball. That just I don't know if that tells me there's not as much cohesion as there was last year, or maybe they're not all on the same page, or if they're just having trouble, whatever the case may be. I still think Philly goes down there and obviously wins. I think they do cover. I feel pretty good about this game. I think they're going to see, the one thing Baker doesn't like is being pressured, and I think they're going to have a hard time. Just like Tom Brady's Achilles heel was the pressure up the middle. I think every quarterback, and I think that's where Philly really has an advantage in this game, is up the middle. So I think Philly found out a little bit who they are last week of getting back to that power run game.
Okay.
So I do like Philly in this spot. I think they go down. I think they cover. I would actually take the under. I could see like a 27-10 game or 27-17 game.
Doesn't put up a lot of points.
So even though, I could see on the other hand that Mike Evans just goes wild again, or Chris Godwin, just because the Eagles' pass defense is pretty suspect. But I like the Eagles here. I like that.
Yeah, I'm opposite you. You're favorite again. So, and it's not that I love Tampa. I don't think they're going to have a great year. I think it's just the Eagles. Maybe this is their get-right game. It's possible. But it's not the right defense to do it against. And I feel, to me, that Tampa has played – well, they've actually coached pretty well, which is kind of rare. I never thought that, Todd Bowles was a great in-game coach, and he was a good defensive coordinator, but not an in-game coach. It seems like they've had good game plans so far. So with Philly, I haven't been impressed with their offense so far. They did run the ball over Minnesota, but who doesn't? So I think you're right on the under here, and that 5 points with that lower total game, it's not lower, middle total game, it's a pretty big value to Tampa. So I'm on Tampa on this one. You're probably right. They're going to get blown out on national television. But I'm going to take Tampa in the +5 here.
That is the Monday night game, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
the first.
That's the other Monday night. Yeah, that's what we're gonna start calling it. It's Monday night and the other Monday night game.
Well, what about the other Monday night game? Is the last one is the Rams against Cincinnati. So this game is interesting. So we don't know exactly if Burrow's going to play. It's trending toward him playing, and you can see this by the line. The line is up to 3 now instead of 2.5. The total is now up to 44 instead of 43. So that's kind of indicative. They think Burrow's going to play. Not sure if it's a right decision by their coach and him playing, but the Rams have played really well. They played salty, as you said. What do you say, frisky?
They're frisky, yeah.
They're frisky.
They're frisky.
You know, like a little friskiness once in a while, especially on Sunday evenings. Anyway, I would say that Cincinnati, look, they have to win this football game. So this is where I'm conflicted. I definitely think the Rams are the play in this game. The problem is if the Bengals lose this, they're probably not going to make the playoffs. It's 0-3, baby. So 2.5 was a great number. 3 is a tough number. To me, it's Bengals or pass. I'm sorry. I know the Rams have played really well. But if they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to fulfill our Super Bowl dream, they have to win this football game.
Yeah, ours and all of Cincinnati. Be free skyline for everybody.
Right.
Honestly, I think the Rams are the play this week. Mm-hmm. I almost think they're the money line play too. I think Aaron Donald could wreak a lot of havoc, like he did in the Super Bowl. He stopped the touchdown that could have been, because we've all seen that play where Jamar Chase is wide open.
Yeah.
But no, I think the Rams are the play this week. I think they're going to play focused on the road. They're going to play good. I think there's just too much noise in Cincinnati right now. Last couple of years, there hasn't been as much noise. There hasn't been expectation in that city for 25 years at least. Mm-hmm. And this year there was finally kind of a lot of expectation. Obviously they built up, a little bit last year, but this year it just seems to just topple over. Like there's too much dysfunction.
Yep.
Burrow was wearing a calf sleeve at practice today. So he's obviously not 100%. And for them to be, to be at the level they probably need to be, he's got to be at 100%. And their defense, I think we've talked about it off air, but their defense just does not look the same this year.
Yeah, the Rams are going to score. That's why the total is a little, 44, it's 43 to 44 now. Seems a little low. But maybe the Rams are going to play really good defense and shut down the Bengals. I agree with you that the Rams are the play. I just can't do it because, the total narrative in my head is like the Bengals have to win this football game.
Maybe Jamar Chase shows up, maybe.
It's not that he doesn't show up. He's been there. It's just I think that the way the calf injury is working, Burrow's not driving the football. He's not sticking that back foot, and that's where it is at the back. It's his right calf, right?
Yeah.
He can't drive the football. His, yards per attempt completion is like really low.
Yeah, his yards per attempt is not very high either.
And he's not really connecting. I mean, T. Higgins has it's like 40% receptions that he's thrown to. So, and that first week was tough with all the rain, but you're showing partly cloudy, mid-60s of beautiful conditions.
Yeah, it should be nice weather at Cincy Monday night. They shouldn't have any issues with weather. So hopefully they can get right. Otherwise, our Super Bowl pick is going to be in great danger.
Okay. We can live do some, we can live bet other stuff. That's why you do it. I screwed everything up here. Okay. Anyway, so let's go to my picks right now. I've made some adjustments already. I like Tennessee plus the 3, and I guess we said is it 3 or 3.5 now? I think it's 3.5. Yeah, it's 3.5 now for Cleveland. So I love that even more. I know it's different from you there. Shocker. I like Minnesota minus the 1. I like Tampa plus the 5. I like Steelers minus the 2.5, and I'm adding Seattle minus the 6.5 in this one.
Nice.
What about your
Beaver
Nation?
Yeah, Beaver Nation lines come out Friday morning. Okay. So as of right now, we're going to go with New England the minus 3. Again, I think it's just going to be history repeats itself again.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Philly plus the 5. I'm going to take Kansas City minus the 12.5, and I'm going to take the Rams again on Monday night with the 2.5.
First of all, it's Philly minus the 9
or minus 5. Excuse me, you're right. Yeah. No, they're underdogs against Tampa. They should be.
It's a Tom Brady Tampa of 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you got New England minus 3, Philly minus 5, Kansas City 12.5, minus 12.5, and the Rams plus 2.5.
Yep.
Okay, it's actually 3. I'll give you 3.
Oh man.
But your lines are coming out.
Yeah, they'll be out Friday morning.
Okay, great.
So
what do we got for the weekend ahead here? I'm sorry about the Shockers. Hey, are you coming to the party tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll be there tomorrow.
Okay, but there's no RSVP. You should say something.
Oh, well, I've just been busy at work, but I have been following the email thread.
Okay, so we're having the end of year. It was supposed to be the post free swingers party, pre Shockers party, but unfortunately There's no shockers anymore. So they can come to the party, of course, but we're going to the Stanfords tomorrow. So you're going to make it.
It's amazing that the swinging came before the shocking. That just seems very shocking. very, very in line.
Sometimes swingers like to shock.
Sometimes the jokes just write themselves. It's kind of like when The Rock was in Boulder this past weekend. So
yeah, that's right.
But no, I'm excited. Me and Callie are debating what we're going to take to the party tomorrow. Okay. So, but I've heard there's other extremities or surprises that are going to be.
I should show you the picture that Ridgeway showed me of the Malort. It's a special Malort.
Oh,
I don't know how much I'm going to be drinking of that. At least I don't. Well, maybe I'll play some volleyball on Saturday to work it out of the system.
Is that what's going on Saturday? You doing volleyball?
Well, I at least said something about co-ed, something or other. So,
gotcha. And we have a tea time Saturday morning. There's a street party Saturday night. I don't know. I can't remember where.
Shauna mentioned that. I did have other plans that I unfortunately committed to, but maybe we can merge up after.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love more friends?
Right? What about Sunday? Can you go to Four Shadows and watch the games? Or are you going to be stuck to your barrelman?
I mean, are we putting them together?
We're putting them together, the Four Shadows?
Yeah. I mean, we can. I mean, we
can't
usually
get the barrelman.
We usually team up. Things happen so much better when we all come together. If there's anything we can learn from this podcast,
Four Shadows.
Teamwork makes
Sunday,
the dream work.
Game time. Boom.
Do they make their own food?
Yes, they make their own food.
Okay, I might have to.
They make their own food?
I don't know. I got some pretty good wings.
Food of this.
I got some pretty good wing recipes.
I'm sure you do. You have to buy food there.
Okay.
When they have the Super Bowl party, they allow you to bring a potluck. It's a different scenario. That's once a year. They are a bar that serves food.
This is the Iowa bar, right?
Yes.
So can I wear like anti-Iowa gear?
You can do whatever you want on Sunday. I don't care. Okay. Just don't show up there on an Iowa Saturday. They will kill you and make you drink out of the dog bowl, which actually is a treat. You get free beer out of the dog bowl if you win such raffle.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or the baby bottle. It's like O-bombs or something like that. Anyway, neither here nor there. I'll catch him up on all the functions at the Four Shadows, but
we might do that. I think I can do that.
Come on, we'll get
the Swerve in there. Oh, by the way, the shout out to the Swerve. Before he showed up Sunday, I like halfway through the first game, I messaged him and said, "Hey, you gotta come meet me?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll come meet you." And then I was like, "Hey, by the way, do you have any hankerings for this afternoon as far as picks goes?" And he's like, I like the Commanders and I like the over. And I was like, "Ooh, that's spicy." So I took him pregame, right? And he shows up at halftime and it's 21-3. And I was like, "Oh yeah, some bet you put in, some bet you gave me." And he's like, "Well, I had a feeling." And all of a sudden they started coming back. So we had a nice little bonding experience last Sunday. We won.
The game's not over yet.
We won some units together. We really bonded, over the commies. Yeah. So shout out to the Swerve. So hopefully we'll get him involved.
Well, Swerve events. There's another tournament, so we'll promote that next time. So we'll follow us at Side Action Pod on Twitter and Side Action Podcast on Instagram. Follow me at Wegspool and on Instagram.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Dalton Cooper, at Mr. Grumpy Gills. And again, follow us in Side Action Pod on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, I love the Grumpy Gills. He keeps DMing me all the time. I'm like, I've only got like 4 DMs in my life, and this guy's DMing me 4 times in a day.
You should see I have an EA for we play NHL because I'm still a child at heart. But you should see my player name on there. It's Philip. Never mind. I don't want to say it on the podcast, but it's Philip Oliver Holst. So I've only been reported twice by EA. So
we've already gone over the shockers and the free swingers. We got to add that.
Yeah. But when we score, it like puts my name on the screen, which I think is even funnier because what I come to find out was EA doesn't like OLIVERHOLES, but you can literally type out ALLOFHERHOLES, and they don't think that's inappropriate, but they think the olive is inappropriate. So
interesting.
So for all you the EA folk out there,
it's a miracle why Callie loves you.
Well, she hasn't told me yet, so maybe the jury's still out.
All right. Good luck this weekend, everybody.
Yes, love you guys.